Welcome everybody, this is Imran Nanlawala from Digital Learning Partners, and I'm here with my esteemed guest and fellow co-host, Yusuf Chowdhury, Digital Marketing Strategist, and this is SEO The Series Part 2. This is a follow-up to our series we did on WordPress website building and also digital presence during the time of COVID. This is our third series. It's a multi-part series, and I'm going to bring up the itinerary or the what the upcoming weeks are going to entail. So you can see that it's an extensive 15-part series on SEO. Last week we covered what SEO is and why it's important and why it matters. Today we're going to cover on-page and off-page SEO, followed by voice search, then followed by the essential principles of SEO, followed by Google factors and much more. So if you guys can be patient for a couple more minutes, our friend Yusuf today is going to be joining us while he's off site to conduct this program today. So just to give you guys a recap, when you build a website and you're establishing your digital signature, digital presence online, it's important to get traffic towards your website and traffic towards your social media presence and whatnot, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason that is, as a business owner, if you're selling a business, a service, or a product, you need to get eyeballs on your services and your products. So we developed this series about search engine optimization because there is organic ways and paid ways of getting eyeballs on your products. And we have the digital marketing maestro himself now, Mr. Yusuf Chowdhury. How you doing?
What's going on, my man?
I was about to give you the 30-second countdown, brother, but you came in right on time.
All right, let's do this. Let me check the charger here. It's good. Give me a second. Let me share your the video on my channel quick.
No problem.
Guys, I'm live streaming.
So Yusuf, while you're doing that, I just gave him a quick introduction. I showed them a series on SEO. We also a little bit about why we started as important. We brought up the fact that obviously as a business owner and somebody who may have a website or a digital signature and presence, you need to bring paid and organic traffic towards your services and your products. And this is how SEO can also come into hand.
Absolutely, because last week we talked about just a definition, right? We talked about the definition. We talked about the importance of why small businesses or any kind of businesses needs to understand the importance of the implementation of how this is super valuable, right? Today we're just going to talk about what is the difference. Okay, we're going to talk about what is the difference between the on-page optimization, we call it on-page SEO, and also the off-page, and what's the difference, right? Because those are the two elements that you have to understand how they work, and at the same time, how to implement it, right? So when it comes to on-page basically means anything on the back end, and these sort of technical thing on the website consist of things that we call title tag or page titles, meta tag description, schema tag, images, how to upload the images with the specific alternative text. And now the alternative text, it's mainly meant for people with disability. Let's say if there's an image of an elephant, the people with disability, and by the way, yes, blind people, deaf folks, any kind of people with disability do check the internet. Okay, they do, and they have a software, they have a system to help them view the site and whatnot. So their software will tell them that this image, for example, is an image of an elephant, right? So if you don't set up an alt tag, that can be an issue. You know what I mean? So there's so many things that takes place on the back end, and the keyword is just not the only thing, right? There's so many things involved when it comes to the so-called the title tag, because the title tag is just an HTML script tag, okay, that exists in the header section or in the head section of each of the web page on the back end. And the objective of the title tag, and by the way, the title tag cannot go more than 70 characters, including spaces. Okay.
Well,
The
why is that? Why can't it go above 70 characters?
the reason it cannot go above 70 characters because you're gonna get the dot dot dot, and the viewers cannot see what else it says. So you gotta keep everything under the 70 characters. Okay. And the thing with the title tag, it has to be relevant. Okay. To the specific pages within the website, which means you cannot use the same title tag, which is, by the way, a very common mistake. You cannot use the same title tag on every single page because every page have a different description, have a different information, right? So the objective behind the title tag or the page title is to provide that initial context of the content or the topic or the subject matter, okay, of that particular page. And the title tag does have a search engine value, which means it does help with the ranking. Okay, so having like a missing title tag or duplicate title tags or poorly written title tags can actually have a negative impact on your search engine results.
Hmm.
Okay, I mean, this is, and it's funny because you're not gonna believe this, but if you check any website right now using SEO Quake Chrome extension, you will see like almost 90% of the pages out there don't even implement proper on-page title tag, right? But of course, because Google has more than other 200 factors to decide to rank, that's one. So within the on-page, you have a thing called title tag, and it has an SEO value. The second thing, it's called meta description, right? The meta description tag, the whole purpose of it is to basically describe what that particular page is about. Now, typically, it used to be 160 characters, but right now, Google last year made an improvement that you can write up to 320 characters. But I still recommend that everything should be under 160. Now, does the meta description has an SEO value? Does it help with ranking? It doesn't. But what does it do? The way you write it, right? The way you strategically write it, that can convince the website visitor. And of course, every page should have their own what you call it, enticing, interesting meta description.
Right.
Okay? And you can utilize this area because what happened if you add a proper meta description relevant per pages, even though it doesn't help with the ranking, but at least it can help with the click-through rate. What does that mean? So when people, search for your website and they find the information on the Google, and the meta tag description basically addressing their needs and questions and wants, this actually can help with the increase in the click of the website. Does that make sense? So
Sure.
that's how you can strategically utilize it by making sure that every single page has a relevant, proper title tag, which should not exceed 70 characters, right? And every single page should have its own meta tag description, so you can basically explain to the search engine and the the user, the website visitor, to understand exactly what this particular page is about. Make sense?
Yeah.
So that's one, meta tag description. Then you have let me find you an example of how to have a interesting meta tag description that can actually increase the click on the website. Okay, so let's see here.
Let me ask you a quick question while you're looking. So, when it comes to the on-page SEO, which seems to be a lot of back-end work on the website, I think some of this could be daunting to someone who is either managing their own website
Uh-huh.
or not having a developer on a regular basis. So, give us a little time frame. Now that I've built my website, in terms of I've built my pages, I put up content, I put up some pictures, maybe some links. How much time would someone have to invest in doing all the on-page SEO stuff like backlinking and metadata, meta tagging, and things of this nature if they don't have a very extensive website? Is this something where I can spend one day, 3 to 4 hours and get it all done?
Well, it depends. That's a very beautiful question, because if you already did the keyword research and if you know exactly how you set up the pages and how it is going to address the user in terms of information, in terms of how descriptive it is, right? Then now you can go and start at least take care of the title and the meta tag and the images. And there are a few things I want to mention, like, the headers, the style of the content. I mean, you can definitely do this within few days to on the stat pages. But when it comes to blog, you always have to, do that every time you do a post. Okay. So some of the example on the meta tag description. So some of the example is, let's say you're an attorney. Let's say you are into you are a injury attorney, a law firm, right? So your title tag will say something like Chicago, injury law firm, Imran, whatever. Okay, then this is your homepage because you're in the Chicago specific area, and that's what you want to rank for. That's your title tag, right? Now the meta description can be something like, did you know that pain and suffering are very real to the victim in personal injury cases? Learn more from our personal injury attorneys in the latest blog, if that's a blog, or click the link above. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you are utilizing the meta description to actually have some sort of enticing element, and you are addressing the viewer, the one who's find the website. You're addressing them, and it can also be. And if you notice, in the title tag, the keyword was Chicago personal journey. Let's say Chicago injury lawyer, for example. That's a keyword. In the meta description, you can also mention that again, even though the meta tag, as I mentioned previously, doesn't have any ranking factor, but it does help with the clicks. It increased the clicks, right? So that's the second thing. The third thing, headline. So headline means when you write a blog, how you have a main headline of a blog post, then you have a subheader, then you have the paragraph that explains the content. So if you add the key phrase within the headline in the subheading, that's why we call these header tags. So in the HTML language, we call this H1. So you have H1 all the way to H6. Make sense? So the objective of the header tags or the HTML elements is to basically use for in basically identifying the heading and the subheading. So the search engine has to understand what is the main topic and what is the subtopic. So even the search engine needs to understand that, right? And imagine for the human being like you and me. Okay? So even though the header tags are not critically important for your site ranking, like how it used to be, but not anymore, but it still helps with that user experience. It still helps for the search engine to basically identify that these pages has some sort of content that can be indexed. Make sense? So that's number 4. Number 5 we're still talking about the on page. We haven't done with the on page yet, right? So number 5 is the SEO writing. So what does SEO writing mean? So that means that the content that you're writing, even though in your mind you have to think that you're writing for your readers, for your visitors, right? Then you have to go back and optimize it. So when you talk about the optimization, that means you go back and do the on page, which is the title tag and the meta tag and the alternative tags, if there are images and whatnot. So you have to focus on that as well. So this is what we call the SEO writing, because the idea behind it, you're trying to produce some sort of content for the sake of not just for the search engine, but you also want to do it because you're writing the content for the people, right? So that should be the first thing you have to focus on. Is the content has a high quality? Is it substantial? Is it relevant to the reader? Okay, so that's number 5. Number 6, you got to be careful from what you call it, the keyword cannibalization. Okay, so the keyword cannibalization, right? Cannibalization means basically if you put too many key phrases, too many keywords, that can actually hurt you, right? So if you have the same keyword that you're trying to you're trying to compete on every single page, it's not going to work.
Right.
Objectively, you have to put different key phrases on the different pages that are relevant to that specific page. You don't want to use the same thing everywhere. So for example, if I use let's say commercial real estate, right? If I was specialized in commercial real estate, I cannot put exactly commercial real estate on every single page. You know what I mean? Because it's not gonna work, because every different page has a different meaning, different page has a different things. You see what I'm saying? So that's what the keyword cannibalization stands for. You have to be very, very careful. You don't want to end up doing that, because if you target a specific term across multiple pages, this can cause this issue. So you got to be very strategic and specific how you're doing this. And again, you're doing it for the user. Then after that, you are going to do it for the search. Okay. So that was number
7,
6, right? Yeah.
6 or 7, yeah.
Yeah. Number 7 is number 7 should be something like what we call the image optimization. which I talked about. When you upload the images, you got to make sure that the file is, not more than 1 MB. I would say a couple of 100 KB, right? The image has a name, it has an alternative text and whatnot. What's going on, my man?
Seafood.
How you doing? You know what I mean? So that's called yeah, they call it seafood Yusuf. That's a good one, bro. So that's called image optimization, right? That's an image optimization. So
but let's go back to the original question. So
yeah, that's called image optimization. So with that one, you have to, what do you call it? Once you upload the images with the name, you also have to put that alternative text, and the alternative text explains exactly to the people with disability what exactly means.
okay, but again, the question is, I built my website.
Mm-hmm.
I have all the pages built, so no on-page SEO done. But if someone visits my website, it looks like a functional website. They go, there's links, there's pages, there's text, there's images, etc. Now I've done my research for the metadata or what have you. Realistically, not a very extensive web page, maybe 5 pages, maybe 4 or 5 articles, maybe 5 videos, 5 audio links, etc. How much time would I have to spend, not to become an expert, not to do a Yusuf level job, but just do an entry level on-page SEO work?
Well, I mean, it depends on the person. I cannot give
Come on.
Because everyone is different in terms of level of learning, how fast they are, right? But whatever I mentioned right now, these are all important. Make sense? So let's say you don't have a blog. Okay, then it doesn't require a header 1 or header 2. Make sense? You have a contact page with a map and a form. Okay, that doesn't have enough content in it. That doesn't require much work except for the page title and the meta tag and the images enhancement, right? And in order for you to get that help, you got to use the third-party tools like WooRank.com, for example, or the SEO Quake Chrome extension, because SEO Quake Chrome extension you can visit any website, right? And it will give you like a full analysis on every single page in terms of like what is missing. So you can look at those information, you can look at those data and go back and make the adjustment. So that way it can actually help you to optimize it by utilizing those tools. Because if you're not even aware what's missing, then you can utilize WooRank.com or the SEO Quake Chrome extension to help you with that.
He's right.
Absolutely. Right? So there's something I'm basically what I mentioned right now is just the basic, because in the on page, you also have technical things like schema tag, which is a little bit advanced. We're not going to cover it today, right? But at least for today, the title tag limitation in characters, the meta tag description, the image optimization, the blog content, the header, right? How you need to focus on the website visitor first, the users, right? You got to focus on them first because, the customer experience. I mean, a lot of businesses, unfortunately, don't think about the customer. They focus too much on the aesthetic. They focus too much on the look. They cry about it. They complain about it. But yet, they don't focus on the actual visitor who come to the website, especially with people with disability. This is very shocking because one client yesterday was asking me, do blind people really check the internet or check the website? I was really shocked with that question. I had a brain fart. I don't know what kind of ignorant question is that? I mean, we have like 50 million disabled Americans, right? What do you think they live their life? How do you think they buy stuff from Amazon? How do you think they check the social channels? Because there's something called accessibility. And the accessibility system is part of partially, I talked about this a few days ago in my live streaming, that the AD compliancy go hands in hand with the on-page SEO, right? Because you got to make sure that whoever is visiting the website, whatever the condition they're in, they should have an awesome experience. Make sense? And we're going to definitely talk about this subject in one of the series pretty soon.
I remember, I remember when I was a college student, I worked in the computer lab. I worked in the computer lab for the university. And at that time, we had a system called JAWS. And from what I remember, if I'm remembering accurately, it was some of the visually impaired students, what they would do is they would come to designated computers, they would put on a headset, and JAWS would basically read for them everything that was on the screen.
Okay. So I mean, we can definitely go into detail of all of it. So this is we spent almost about 30 minutes talking about the basic of the on page, right? Now, let's talk about the off page. So the on page The on-page stuff, like I said, mostly done once, right? On most of the pages, except for the blog post. When it comes to blogging, you have to constantly optimize that every time you do a post. And this is the one-time thing. And you have to be very careful because there's some agency that actually do the on-page SEO, right? And for some reason they charge monthly. You gotta be careful. If there's no multitask, you don't want to do that, right? Are you guys doing a lot of haram stuff? What is it? Kind of an Arabic. I know. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of crazy stuff going on here. So now, so that's only done. So that's only done once, right? Now, when it comes to off-page, offline, right? The off-page SEO, that process can take anywhere between 27 to 55 hours because it requires link building, it requires toxic link analysis, it requires health status of the web and the search. So there's a lot of work involved in that sense. But the majority of the time, it's called link building process, right? It's a technique that includes the process of link building from relevant site, high ranking site, high authority site, okay? Basically getting links from all these other properties, and that can actually, this is what really helps with the ranking. This is what really helps with the the discovery, because if you get a relevant links pointing back to your website, that means like a vote for your site, right? So this is like one of the, there's so many factors when it comes to the off page. If you don't implement the off page, you're not going to rank. See, that's a misconception that most people don't know, that they think if you do the on page, you are done. No, the on page is like, the restaurant, right? Making sure you have the tables, you have the waiters, you have the food, you have the menu. If you don't have those and you still have like a traditional advertising and TV and billboard, and you're sending all the customers and nobody's there, there's no table, there's no food, what is going to happen to your website? It's not going to work, right? So the on page is one, but the off page requires all these techniques. I mean, they are like, we're going to discuss in the series like more than 50 ways how to implement this so-called ethical, proper link building process in order for you to get more traffic and get help with ranking. So you can get the relevant traffic and the relevant the viewers to basically, come to the site. Does that make sense?
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, because we did discuss this before, but in terms of off-page SEO, all the things that can contribute to it are like doing YouTube videos, writing blogs on external websites, being more active on social media, and then bringing people back to the website. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely, because you tend to push everything back to the site.
Yo, let's play volleyball. Let's go.
Okay. All right. So Yusuf, I think you're in the middle of things, and I think we have a nice introduction to
out here. Yeah.
on-page and off-page SEO. So next week we're going to talk about voice search. So we look forward to seeing you next week, my friend, at 4 p.m. And thank you for your time today. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for tuning in. Remember, this is a 15-part series. If you missed part of this video or interview, please go ahead and go to the DLP Digital Learning Partners YouTube or Facebook page. You'll be able to watch all of the sessions that we've done previous on Facebook and on YouTube. And please, if you do have any questions on what we're covering, leave some comments, and then we'll get to those when we can.
Yeah, if y'all have any more questions about the subject of the on page, please let us know. Leave a comment, because again, this is just the basic information we're sharing, and there's actually more stuff that I want to talk about it, but we're probably going to do that in the several series down the line.
All right, my friend, have a nice day in Miami Beach, and then
I'm still in San Antonio, man.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll see you there. And Charles, we got your comment. How you doing, brother? Thanks for tuning in. So Yusuf, see you next week, my friend.
All right, brother. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.